Hey everyone! Today we're diving into the fascinating world of protozoa and their surprising economic impact. These microscopic organisms might be tiny, but they play a huge role in our global economy. What exactly are protozoa? They're single celled organisms that live everywhere in water, soil, and even inside other organisms. But here's what makes them economically important: they affect our health, agriculture, and industries in ways most people never realize. Protozoa have a dual nature. On one hand, they're incredibly helpful. They recycle nutrients in ecosystems, improve soil fertility, and help clean our wastewater. On the other hand, some protozoa cause serious diseases, damage crops, and create massive healthcare costs. The economic scale is staggering. The global aquaculture industry loses about $6 billion annually due to disease outbreaks, many caused by protozoa. Over 25% of the world's population is affected by parasitic infections, leading to billions in healthcare costs and lost productivity. Throughout this series, we'll explore how protozoa both help and harm our economies, learn about different modes of infection and transmission, examine real world case studies, and discuss future challenges and emerging solutions. These tiny organisms have a much bigger impact on our world than you might expect. What exactly are protozoa? These fascinating organisms are single celled eukaryotic life forms, which means they have a true nucleus and complex internal structures. To understand what makes them eukaryotic, let's compare them to simpler prokaryotic cells like bacteria. The key difference is that eukaryotic cells have a membrane bound nucleus containing their genetic material. Now let's look at a typical protozoan cell in more detail. They contain a nucleus that houses their DNA, plus various organelles that help them survive and function. Protozoa are incredibly diverse and can be found virtually everywhere on Earth. They thrive in soil, freshwater, marine environments, and even inside other living organisms. The world of protozoa includes both helpful allies and dangerous enemies. Some protozoa play crucial roles in nutrient cycling and ecosystem health, while others are notorious parasites that cause serious diseases in humans and animals. Understanding protozoa is essential because they significantly impact our economy, health, and environment. In the following sections, we'll explore both their beneficial contributions and the challenges they present. Not all protozoa are harmful parasites. Many protozoa actually play essential beneficial roles in our ecosystems, particularly as nutrient cyclers that keep our environment healthy and productive. Protozoa are like tiny recycling machines in soil and water. They consume dead organic matter, fallen leaves, dead bacteria, and other decomposing materials, and break them down into simpler, usable forms. During this breakdown process, protozoa release vital nutrients back into the environment. The two most important nutrients they release are nitrogen and phosphorus, essential elements that all living organisms need to grow and survive. These released nutrients don't just disappear, they become available for plants to absorb through their roots. This creates a continuous cycle where dead organic matter is recycled into nutrients that support new plant growth and maintain ecosystem health. This nutrient cycling process is absolutely crucial for maintaining healthy ecosystems. Without protozoa and other decomposers, dead organic matter would accumulate, and essential nutrients would remain locked away, unavailable for new life to flourish. In wastewater treatment plants around the world, tiny protozoa work as natural cleaners, performing essential functions that help purify our water. Wastewater entering treatment plants contains harmful bacteria and suspended particles that must be removed before the water can be safely released back into the environment. Protozoa are introduced into the treatment process. These microscopic organisms have two main jobs: consuming harmful bacteria and helping particles clump together. First, protozoa actively hunt and consume bacteria in the wastewater. They engulf these harmful microorganisms, effectively removing them from the water. Second, protozoa help with flocculation. They cause suspended particles to clump together into larger masses called flocks. These larger clumps are much easier to remove from the water. This natural biological process has significant environmental benefits. It reduces the need for harsh chemicals, makes wastewater treatment more sustainable, and provides an eco-friendly approach to water purification. Protozoa demonstrate how nature provides elegant solutions to human challenges. By harnessing these microscopic workers, we can treat wastewater more effectively while protecting our environment. Now we need to discuss the darker side of protozoa. While many protozoa are beneficial, others have evolved into parasites that cause serious harm to their hosts. A parasite is an organism that lives in or on another organism, called a host, and benefits by deriving nutrients at the host's expense. This relationship causes harm to the host. Let me show you how this parasitic relationship works. Here we have a healthy host cell, and here comes a parasitic protozoan looking for a place to live and feed. The parasite invades the host cell, begins consuming the host's resources, and starts reproducing. This damages the host cell and can eventually destroy it completely. Parasitic protozoa cause many serious diseases in humans. Let me show you some of the most important examples that have major economic impacts worldwide. Malaria, caused by Plasmodium parasites, affects over 200 million people annually. Giardiasis causes severe diarrheal disease. Cryptosporidiosis leads to dangerous dehydration, especially in children. The economic impact of these parasitic diseases is staggering. They cost billions of dollars in healthcare expenses, lost productivity, and reduced quality of life, especially in developing countries. Developing countries bear the heaviest burden from parasitic protozoa. Poor sanitation, limited healthcare access, and tropical climates create perfect conditions for these parasites to thrive and spread. Understanding parasitic protozoa is crucial because they represent a major threat to global health and economic development. In our next sections, we'll explore the specific economic impacts and how these parasites spread. Protozoan diseases create a massive economic burden on human health systems worldwide. These microscopic parasites don't just cause illness. They drain billions of dollars from economies through healthcare costs and lost productivity. 3 major protozoan diseases dominate the global health landscape. Malaria affects over 200 million people annually, while giardiasis and cryptosporidiosis cause millions of cases of severe diarrheal disease worldwide. The economic costs are staggering. Healthcare systems spend billions treating these diseases, while entire economies suffer from reduced workforce productivity as millions of people become too sick to work effectively. In developing countries, malaria alone costs economies up to 1.3% of their annual GDP. Families spend up to 25% of their income on malaria treatment, pushing millions into poverty. The ripple effects extend beyond individual families. Entire communities lose economic potential when large portions of their population are chronically ill, creating cycles of poverty that can persist for generations. Protozoan parasites don't just affect humans, they have a massive economic impact on livestock and agriculture worldwide. These microscopic organisms can devastate farm productivity and cost farmers billions of dollars annually. Let's examine coccidiosis, one of the most economically damaging protozoan diseases in poultry. This disease affects chickens, turkeys, and other birds, causing severe intestinal damage and reducing productivity. Coccidia are protozoan parasites that invade the intestinal cells of birds. These parasites multiply rapidly, destroying intestinal tissue and causing bloody diarrhea, weight loss, and reduced egg production. The economic impact is staggering. Coccidiosis costs the global poultry industry over $3 billion annually. Infected birds show 20 to 50% reduction in weight gain and up to 30% decrease in egg production. But coccidiosis is just one example. Protozoan parasites affect all types of livestock. Cattle suffer from diseases like babesiosis and theileriosis, which reduce milk production and cause anemia. Pigs face threats from parasites that cause diarrhea and poor growth rates. For farmers, these diseases create a devastating financial burden. Beyond direct animal losses, farmers face increased veterinary costs, medication expenses, reduced productivity, and lost income. Prevention and treatment can cost thousands of dollars per farm annually. The economic impact of protozoan diseases on livestock and agriculture is enormous, affecting food security and farmer livelihoods worldwide. Understanding these impacts is crucial for developing effective prevention and treatment strategies. The aquaculture industry, which farms fish and shellfish in controlled environments, faces a particularly devastating threat from protozoan diseases. These microscopic parasites can cause catastrophic economic losses that ripple through the entire global food system. The numbers are staggering. The global aquaculture industry loses approximately $6 billion every single year due to disease outbreaks, with protozoan parasites being one of the major contributors to these massive losses. When protozoan diseases strike an aquaculture facility, they can spread rapidly through the densely packed populations. A single outbreak can wipe out entire tanks of fish or shellfish within days, destroying months or even years of careful cultivation and investment. Several specific protozoan parasites are particularly devastating to aquaculture. Ichthyopterius multifilius, commonly known as EEK, causes white spot disease in freshwater fish. Trichodina species attack the gills and skin, while cryptobia affects salmon and other valuable fish species. The economic impact varies by region and species. The shrimp industry alone has suffered losses exceeding $10 billion since 1990. In the United Kingdom, parasites cause annual losses between $62 and $175 million, representing up to 16% of total aquaculture production value. These massive economic losses highlight why the aquaculture industry invests heavily in disease prevention, water quality management, and rapid response systems. Understanding and controlling protozoan diseases is essential for maintaining a sustainable and profitable aquaculture sector that feeds millions of people worldwide. Fecal-oral route is one of the most common ways protozoan diseases spread around the world. Understanding this pathway helps us prevent infections through proper hygiene and sanitation. The fecal-oral route describes how infectious protozoan cysts and oocysts from contaminated feces reach a person's mouth. This creates a cycle of contamination that can spread diseases rapidly in communities with poor sanitation. Here's how the transmission works, step by step. Contaminated waste contains protozoan cysts that can survive outside the body. When hands become contaminated and then touch food or water, the parasites can be transferred to a new host. Common scenarios where fecal-oral transmission occurs include unwashed hands after using the toilet, drinking from contaminated water sources, eating food prepared without proper hygiene, sharing utensils in areas with poor sewage management. Breaking the fecal-oral transmission cycle requires proper hygiene and sanitation. Key prevention methods include washing hands thoroughly with soap, ensuring clean water sources, maintaining proper sanitation facilities, and practicing safe food handling techniques. The key takeaway is that simple hygiene practices can prevent most fecal-oral protozoan infections. Hand washing, clean water, and proper sanitation are our most effective tools against these diseases. Contaminated food and water represent one of the most common pathways for protozoan infections worldwide. Understanding how these microscopic parasites survive and spread through our food and water supply is crucial for prevention. Protozoan parasites don't just exist as active, swimming organisms. They form specialized survival structures called cysts and oocysts. These are like protective shells that allow the parasites to survive harsh conditions outside a host. Water contamination occurs when sewage, animal waste, or runoff containing these cysts enters water sources. Even treated municipal water can sometimes contain viable cysts, especially from resistant parasites like Cryptosporidium. Food contamination happens in several ways. Fresh produce can be contaminated through irrigation with polluted water, washing with contaminated water, or handling by infected food workers. Raw or undercooked foods are particularly risky. These survival forms are remarkably resilient. Cryptosporidium oocysts can survive in water for months, even with standard chlorine treatment. Giardia cysts can remain viable on surfaces for weeks and resist many common disinfectants. Prevention is your best defense. Always drink treated or boiled water, especially when traveling. Wash fruits and vegetables thoroughly with safe water. Cook food to proper temperatures and practice good hand hygiene, especially before eating. Vector-borne transmission is a fascinating and dangerous way that protozoan parasites spread from one host to another. Unlike direct contact or contaminated food, these parasites rely on living carriers called vectors to reach new victims. The most well-known example is malaria transmission through mosquitoes. When an infected mosquito bites a human, it injects malaria parasites directly into the bloodstream. This creates a deadly cycle that affects millions of people worldwide. Here's how the process works. The mosquito approaches its human target and uses its needle-like proboscis to pierce the skin. As it feeds on blood, it simultaneously injects saliva containing the malaria parasites. Another important example is Chagas disease, transmitted by kissing bugs. These insects bite sleeping victims around the mouth and eyes, then defecate near the bite wound. The parasites enter when the person scratches the itchy bite. Vector control is absolutely essential for preventing these diseases. This includes using bed nets, eliminating standing water where mosquitoes breed, applying insecticides, and improving housing conditions to keep vectors away from humans. Understanding vector-borne transmission helps us realize why controlling insect populations is so crucial for public health. By breaking the transmission cycle, we can prevent millions of infections and save countless lives. Direct contact transmission is another important way protozoan infections spread from person to person and through contaminated surfaces in our environment. When infected individuals touch surfaces, they can leave behind microscopic protozoan cysts. These hardy structures can survive for extended periods, waiting to infect the next person who touches that surface. Different protozoan cysts have remarkable survival abilities. Giardia cysts can remain infectious on surfaces for up to 2 months, while Cryptosporidium oocysts can survive for several weeks, especially in moist conditions. Protozoan cysts can contaminate many everyday surfaces we touch regularly. Doorknobs, children's toys, bathroom fixtures, and kitchen surfaces are all common places where these infectious cysts can lurk, waiting to spread to new hosts. Giardiasis is a perfect example of direct contact transmission. An infected person touches a surface, leaving behind Giardia cysts. When a healthy person later touches that same surface and then their mouth, they can become infected with this intestinal parasite. Preventing direct contact transmission requires good hygiene practices. Frequent hand washing with soap, regular disinfection of commonly touched surfaces, and avoiding touching your face or mouth with unwashed hands are all effective strategies. The key takeaway is that direct contact transmission makes protozoan infections highly contagious, especially in close contact environments like households, schools, and daycare centers, where people frequently touch the same surfaces. Zoonotic transmission is a critical pathway where protozoan parasites spread from animals directly to humans. This mode of infection involves our closest companions, livestock and domestic pets, acting as carriers of these microscopic parasites. Common animal sources include farm animals like cattle and pigs, which can harbor parasites like Cryptosporidium and Giardia. Domestic pets, particularly cats and dogs, are also significant carriers of various protozoan parasites. Transmission occurs through several pathways: direct contact with infected animals, handling contaminated animal waste, or exposure to environments where infected animals have been present can all lead to human infection. Let me show you some specific examples of zoonotic protozoan diseases that demonstrate how these infections actually occur in real-world situations. Toxoplasmosis from cats is one of the most well-known examples. Cats shed Toxoplasma gondii oocysts in their feces, which can contaminate litter boxes and soil. Humans become infected through contact with contaminated surfaces or consuming undercooked meat from infected animals. Cryptosporidium from cattle is another major concern. This parasite causes severe diarrheal disease and spreads through direct contact with infected animals, contaminated water sources, or exposure to farm environments where cattle are present. Understanding these transmission pathways is crucial for prevention. Simple measures can significantly reduce the risk of zoonotic protozoan infections. Key prevention strategies include washing hands thoroughly after any animal contact, maintaining proper hygiene when handling pets or livestock, ensuring regular veterinary care for animals, and practicing safe food handling by cooking meat thoroughly. Remember, zoonotic transmission represents a significant pathway for protozoan infections. By understanding how these parasites spread from animals to humans and implementing proper prevention measures, we can greatly reduce our risk of infection while still enjoying the benefits of animal companionship and agriculture. A growing crisis in treating protozoan infections is the rise of antimicrobial resistance. This means that the drugs we've relied on for decades are becoming less and less effective against these microscopic parasites. To understand this problem, imagine a battlefield where our weapons are becoming useless. Traditional antiparasitic drugs like chloroquine, metronidazole, and artemisinin are losing their power against protozoan parasites. But how does resistance actually develop? It's a process of natural selection happening at the microscopic level. When protozoa are exposed to drugs, most die, but a few survive due to genetic mutations that make them resistant. When we apply antiparasitic drugs, the susceptible protozoa die off, but the resistant ones survive. These survivors then multiply, creating a new population that is largely resistant to the drug. This resistance happens through several mechanisms. Protozoa can develop efflux pumps that push drugs out of their cells, alter their target proteins so drugs can't bind, or even break down the drugs using special enzymes. The consequences are serious. Treatment failures are increasing, infections last longer, and healthcare costs are rising. We urgently need new approaches, including novel drugs, combination therapies, and better diagnostic tools to stay ahead of resistant parasites. Climate change is creating new challenges for public health, particularly when it comes to waterborne protozoan diseases. Rising temperatures and changing weather patterns are making these microscopic threats more dangerous than ever before. As global temperatures rise, we see dramatic changes in weather patterns around the world. These changes directly impact water systems and create ideal conditions for protozoan parasites to thrive and spread. Climate change disrupts normal precipitation patterns. Some regions experience intense flooding, while others face severe droughts. Both extremes create problems for water quality and safety. When extreme weather events occur, they can quickly transform clean water sources into contaminated ones. Flooding can overwhelm sewage systems, while droughts concentrate pollutants and parasites in remaining water supplies. Developing countries face the greatest risk from climate-related protozoan disease outbreaks. These regions often lack adequate water treatment facilities and sanitation infrastructure, making them extremely vulnerable when climate change disrupts their water systems. The connection is clear. Climate change plus water system disruption equals increased protozoan disease risk. Understanding this relationship is crucial for developing effective prevention and response strategies in our changing world. Nanotechnology represents a revolutionary breakthrough in the fight against protozoan diseases. These incredibly small particles, measured in nanometers, are opening new possibilities for both treatment and diagnosis. To understand nanotechnology, we need to appreciate just how small these particles are. A nanoparticle is thousands of times smaller than bacteria and nearly 1,000,000 times smaller than a human hair. One of the most promising applications is targeted drug delivery. Traditional medications often affect healthy cells along with parasites. Nanoparticles can be engineered to specifically target protozoan parasites while leaving healthy tissue unharmed. Watch as these engineered nanoparticles travel directly to the parasite. They can penetrate the parasite's membrane and release their drug payload exactly where it's needed, maximizing effectiveness while minimizing side effects. Nanotechnology is also revolutionizing how we detect protozoan infections. Nanosensors can identify specific proteins or genetic material from parasites in blood or water samples with incredible precision and speed. These nanosensors can detect infections much earlier than traditional methods, sometimes identifying just a few parasite cells in a sample. This early detection is crucial for effective treatment and preventing disease spread. Nanotechnology offers several key advantages in fighting protozoan diseases. It provides precise targeting, reduces harmful side effects, enables ultra-early detection, and could potentially be more cost-effective than current treatments. Looking ahead, nanotechnology shows promise for protecting aquaculture from protozoan diseases, delivering vaccines more effectively, and even purifying water supplies. As this technology advances, it could become a game changer in our fight against protozoan infections worldwide. Malaria represents one of the most devastating examples of how protozoan parasites can impact both human health and economic systems worldwide. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium parasites, single-celled protozoa that have evolved a complex life cycle involving both mosquitoes and humans. The scale of malaria's impact is staggering. Every year, over 200 million people contract malaria, and nearly 500,000 die from this preventable disease. The economic burden extends far beyond healthcare costs. Malaria affects entire healthcare systems, reduces worker productivity, and creates a cycle of poverty in affected regions. The transmission cycle involves mosquitoes as vectors. When an infected Anopheles mosquito bites a human, it injects Plasmodium parasites into the bloodstream, where they multiply and cause disease. Malaria predominantly affects tropical and subtropical regions, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, where it creates enormous economic challenges for developing nations trying to build stronger healthcare systems and economies. This case study demonstrates how a single protozoan parasite can create cascading economic effects, from individual healthcare costs to national economic development challenges, making malaria prevention and treatment a critical global priority. Two of the most significant waterborne protozoan diseases affecting millions worldwide are cryptosporidiosis and giardiasis. These enteric diseases represent major public health challenges with substantial economic consequences. Cryptosporidium and giardia are microscopic parasites that form protective cysts. Cryptosporidium oocysts contain 4 sporozoites, while giardia cysts typically contain 2 nuclei. Both are highly resistant to chlorine disinfection. Both diseases cause similar gastrointestinal symptoms. Patients experience chronic diarrhea that can last for weeks, along with severe abdominal cramps, nausea, and dehydration. The persistent nature of these symptoms significantly impacts daily life. The economic burden is substantial. Each case of cryptosporidiosis or giardiasis costs approximately $1,200 in direct healthcare expenses, including doctor visits, medications, and diagnostic tests. Lost productivity adds another $800 per case. Beyond immediate symptoms, both diseases can cause lasting health problems. Children are particularly vulnerable, experiencing malnutrition, growth delays, and cognitive impairment. These long-term effects create additional healthcare costs and reduce quality of life for years. Globally, these diseases affect hundreds of millions of people. Cryptosporidiosis causes 8.5 million cases annually and is a leading cause of diarrheal death in children. Giardiasis infects 280 million people yearly, making it the most common intestinal parasite worldwide. These case studies demonstrate how protozoan parasites create cascading economic effects, from immediate healthcare costs to long-term developmental impacts, highlighting the critical importance of prevention and early treatment strategies. The future of protozoan disease diagnosis is being revolutionized by cutting-edge technologies that promise faster, more accurate, and more accessible testing methods. Traditional diagnostic methods for protozoan diseases face several significant challenges. Results can take days or weeks to obtain. They require highly skilled laboratory technicians and often have limited sensitivity for detecting low-level infections. Molecular biology has introduced powerful new diagnostic tools. Polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, can amplify tiny amounts of protozoan DNA, making detection possible even with very few parasites present. Advanced DNA sequencing allows for precise identification of species and even drug resistance markers. Rapid diagnostic tests are transforming field diagnosis. Simple test strips can provide results in just 15 minutes, while portable analyzers bring laboratory-quality testing directly to remote clinics and field locations. Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing microscopy. Digital microscopes combined with machine learning algorithms can automatically identify and count protozoan parasites with remarkable accuracy, providing instant species identification and quantification. These new diagnostic tools are transforming disease control efforts. Faster detection enables quicker treatment and reduces transmission. Better surveillance helps track outbreaks in real time. Most importantly, early and accurate diagnosis leads to better patient outcomes and significantly reduces the economic burden of protozoan diseases. Vaccine development represents one of the most promising frontiers in the fight against protozoan diseases. Scientists worldwide are working to create vaccines that could prevent infections and dramatically reduce their economic impact. Currently, most protozoan diseases rely on drug treatments rather than prevention through vaccination. Unlike bacterial and viral diseases, very few effective vaccines exist for protozoan parasites. The main challenge in developing protozoan vaccines lies in the complex life cycles of these parasites. Unlike bacteria or viruses, protozoa often have multiple developmental stages, each presenting different antigens to the immune system. Another major challenge is antigenic variation. Many protozoan parasites can change their surface proteins to evade the immune system, making it difficult to create a vaccine that provides long-lasting protection. Despite these challenges, researchers are developing promising new approaches. These include multi-stage vaccines that target multiple life cycle phases and adjuvants that boost immune responses to overcome antigenic variation. The economic potential of successful protozoan vaccines is enormous. Prevention through vaccination could save billions of dollars annually in healthcare costs, lost productivity, and agricultural losses, while dramatically improving quality of life worldwide. While significant challenges remain, vaccine development represents our best hope for preventing protozoan diseases rather than just treating them. Continued research and investment in this field could transform global health and economic outcomes. When we look at the numbers behind protozoan diseases, the scale of their economic impact becomes truly staggering. Let's examine what leading experts and recent studies tell us about this global challenge. The global aquaculture industry faces massive financial losses every year due to protozoan diseases. Industry experts estimate these losses at approximately $6 billion annually. That's equivalent to the entire GDP of some small countries. To put this in perspective, the shrimp farming industry alone has suffered losses exceeding $10 billion since 1990. This represents decades of economic damage from protozoan parasites affecting one of the world's most valuable seafood industries. The human health statistics are equally alarming. Medical experts estimate that at least 1/4 of the world's population, that's nearly 2 billion people, are chronically infected with intestinal parasites, many of which are protozoa. In the United Kingdom alone, parasites cause annual losses between $62 and $175 million to the aquaculture industry. This represents up to 16.5% of the total value of aquaculture production across all species. Leading parasitologists emphasize that while chemotherapy remains the most effective treatment for parasitic infections, growing drug resistance is creating an urgent need for new solutions. This has sparked promising research into vaccine development and alternative treatment approaches. These statistics paint a clear picture. Protozoan diseases represent one of the most significant economic and health challenges of our time. The numbers demonstrate why continued research, prevention efforts, and international cooperation are essential for addressing this global problem. Holobiont research represents a fascinating frontier in science, exploring how the microorganisms living within us, including protozoa, might actually influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The term holobiont refers to a host organism and all the microorganisms living within it, working together as a single biological unit. Scientists are discovering that these tiny passengers may have more control over our actions than we ever imagined. Research suggests these microorganisms can influence a wide range of human behaviors. From risk-taking and impulsivity to social dominance and empathy, our microbial passengers may be pulling the strings behind the scenes. One of the most studied examples is Toxoplasma gondii, a protozoan parasite that can alter risk-taking behavior in infected individuals. Studies show infected people may be more likely to start businesses, engage in risky activities, or show reduced fear responses. This emerging field suggests that our microbiome might influence everything from our political preferences to our social interactions. While the research is still developing, it opens up fascinating questions about free will and the biological basis of human behavior. As scientists continue to explore the holobiont concept, we're gaining new insights into the complex relationship between humans and their microbial communities. potentially revolutionizing our understanding of behavior and mental health. After exploring the complex world of protozoa and their economic impact, what are the key lessons we need to remember? Let's summarize the most important takeaways and discuss how we can protect ourselves and our economy. First, protozoa have a dual nature. While some species cause devastating diseases that cost billions of dollars annually, others provide essential ecosystem services like nutrient cycling and wastewater treatment that support our economy. The good news is that we can significantly reduce the economic burden of harmful protozoa through proven prevention strategies. These strategies focus on breaking the transmission pathways we've learned about. Safe food and water practices are equally critical. This includes proper food storage, cooking temperatures, and ensuring access to clean drinking water, especially important in preventing diseases like cryptosporidiosis and giardiasis. Vector control remains essential for diseases like malaria. This includes using bed nets, eliminating standing water where mosquitoes breed, and supporting public health programs that monitor and control disease vectors. Looking ahead, emerging technologies like nanotechnology and improved diagnostic tools offer hope for better prevention and treatment. However, challenges like antimicrobial resistance and climate change require continued vigilance and innovation. By understanding how protozoa impact our economy and implementing these prevention strategies, we can protect both human health and economic prosperity. The investment in prevention today saves billions in treatment costs and lost productivity tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the microscopic world that has such a massive economic impact.